25th, 2026. Recorded live from the English Valley's History Center. Here's Jackie.
Hello everyone. My name is Jackie Geringer McDermott. This diary was written by Libby Wade. She was my dad's great aunt, and her full name was Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade. She was 76 years old in 1950. She lives in a house on East Oak Street in North English, Iowa, with her son, Russell Wade. Here is a picture of Lib. Uh-oh. My pictures have taken off like they're crazy here. Here's a picture of Lib with her brother Henry Claypool, taken a few years back. October 24th, 1950. Cool, but sun is bright today. Will probably warm up later. Earl didn't come. Too busy, I suppose. Earl Dennison was to come to try to fix the electrical hookup to Lib's new stove. A speech from Berlin at 11 o'clock, dedicating the Freedom Bell of United Nations, started the ringing of the bells all over the world. Speech by General Lucius Clay. This is the 5th anniversary of the United Nations. General Lucius Clay was the one giving the speech today. He was chief of the U.S. forces in Europe and military governor of the U.S. zone in Germany, and later the first director of civilian affairs in defeated Germany after World War II with the supervision of the Berlin airlift to get supplies into Berlin. When Eisenhower was in office, Clay served as his unofficial emissary in Europe. One of his first duties as Eisenhower's emissary and as the national chairman of the Crusade for Freedom was to dedicate the city of Berlin's Liberty Bell. Don Hall came while we were at dinner. We are to get an oil heater from him, similar to the one we have. It has been used. Constant Geiger had it. He also talked to Russell about hooking up the electrical stove. Said he could help. Don Hall was a businessman uptown. From Constant Cecil Geiger, or Jigger Geiger, was where Lib was getting the used oil heater. When I knew Jigger Geiger, he lived in the house just east of Wayner Perky and Jenny Wade on East Clark Street. Jigger Geiger was the great-great-grandfather of my young friend, Tyler Richton Geiger from Deep River, who is the leader of the country band Tyler Richton and the High Bank Boys that is very popular in Iowa right now. Jenny was here too. Stella was here this p.m. She had been to see Mrs. George Dahl. She is not able to be up all the time. Their son and wife didn't stay very long. Jenny Wade is Lib's daughter-in-law, and she lives a block away on East Clark Street. Stella Wallace is a friend and the mother of Lib's other daughter-in-law, Lena Wade. Mrs. George Dahl, or Emma Mary Reinert Dahl, was the grandmother of my listener Gary Schultz from Williamsburg. Mrs. Dahl was 69 years old, and according to her death certificate that next spring, she had been diagnosed by Dr. L.A. Miller with Hodgkin's disease. Stella told me about Tracy being peeved about a bureau. Gets things all wrong sometimes. Tracy Wallace was Stella's sister-in-law. They were married to brothers Frank and Roy Wallace, who have both passed away. Tracy, shown here in this picture, was my paternal great-grandmother. Russell went to Williamsburg tonight, Farm Bureau meeting that Mildred attends. Russell, or Tyler Wade, is in the center of this picture with his brothers. He is 42 years old, and she lives in his house with him. Mildred Reese is Russell's longtime girlfriend, and she lives in the country west of town with her parents, She is shown here in this picture with her brothers. Wayne called about the election, wanted to know if I was going, etc. Lib's oldest son, Wayne or Perky Wade, is on the left side of this picture. He wants to know if his mother needs a ride to the polls to vote. Perky was very active in city politics at that time. Saw in the paper that the case against Charles and Robert Carter was settled out of court. $50,000 was asked. Didn't say what they settled for. It was a traffic case last September a year ago. A woman killed, 2 injured. October 25th, 1950. My father's birthday, 1829. Died November 4th, 1919. Jonathan Charles Claypool, shown here with his wife, Anne Mariah Hinkle Claypool, was Lib's dad and my great-great-grandfather. Has been a nice bright day. Was warm in the p.m. I turned the fire out a while. Don Hall brought an oil burner this morning. It is almost like the one we have. A later model, Duotherm, $40. Has been used but is as good as new. A new one would be $75. We don't have the oil barrel up for it. Will soon. For the information for the younger ones in the crowd and to refresh the memory of us older ones, an oil burner was a little stove connected with a line to the outside of the house where a barrel stood on a frame and the oil was fed through tubing into the house. Here's a picture of a Duo King heater. And here is a picture of an oil barrel. The barrel could lay sideways on a wooden frame, and then the oil would feed into the house. October 26, 1950. Cloudy, rain some places in the state. None here yet at 7:30 a.m. Not very cold here. Fire at Marengo last night. Coal chute and 40 tons of coal destroyed. From a newspaper article in the North English Record, 2 fires Wednesday in this territory did much damage. The Dalby Lumber Company at Watchere burned with a loss of $75,000. The big Rock Island coal chute at Marengo was entirely destroyed by flames. People should be extra careful about fires because of the extreme dryness. Hunters especially should be careful with matches and cigarettes. The fields are very dry. Cecil Walsh came about 9 and put the remainder of the storm windows on, and also the glass panels in the doors. A little warm for them, but I thought we might need them, and no one to put them on. He also whittled out plugs for the holes where the telephone wires had been put in outside. Cecil Walsh, who was doing Lib's winterizing for her, was a carpenter and a handyman. Cecil built the house at 225 East Washington, where my brother Lou lives now, and where I lived until age 8. His daughter Sandra Spain, from the class of 1955 at North English High School, who passed away in 2020, was one of my Watchere Methodist Church friends. Someone took our barrel that we had intended to use for oil for the new stove. I don't know who got it or when. Mary Ann was here. I sent for more crochet thread by her. Mary Newhouse, who is in the middle of the back row of this picture, was a neighbor and friend who often runs errands for Lib uptown. Stella was here, and also Elsie Miller. This is the night the Methodists have their sale out at the sale barn. Elsie Miller was a friend from out Green Valley way, east of town, who Lib got to know when she taught school in that area before she was married. The Methodist Harvest Sale was mentioned in the North English Record the week before. The sale pavilion or sale barn, which was south of town on Highway 149, just south of the overhead bridge, donated the use of its venue. The auctioneers and clerks donated their time, and all the merchandise was donated to be auctioned off for the benefit of the North English Methodist Church. The donations were livestock, corn, hay, chickens, frozen poultry, Chinese baskets, a new kitchen sink, furniture, and other articles found at a church sale, along with homemade candy and popcorn, and a lunch serving at 5 p.m. Russell talked to Grove of South English. He said he would come in the morning and connect the stove. Hope he don't forget. Roy, or A.B. Grove, from South English, was an electrician. He was the father of Jack Grove and Garth Grove. Roy Grove would have been 40 years old when he wired up Lib's stove in 1950, and he was still around South English when my husband and Gary and I lived there in the 1990s. Jenny Harper was here in the AM. Jenny Harper was the aunt of Lib's neighbor and friend, Hattie Newberry Killian, and she's in the back row, the second person from the left. Received a folder of scenic cards from Anna at Galveston. Must be nice there. She is on a trip with the Eastern Stars. Anna Cray is Lib's only daughter, who lives in the Valley in Texas, and is on a trip with her religious group, the Eastern Stars, to the city of Galveston, Texas. October 27th, 1950. A great day. We finally have the electric stove installed. Roy A.B. Grove came this morning. Had to go to Millersburg for something needed. Warren took him. Warren, or Mike Wade, who's on the right side of this picture, is Lib's son, her second son, and it sounds like he had some free time this morning to donate to the stove project. Ethel was here and swept and cleaned the house. The weather is nice and warm and sunny. No fire here today, not needed. Ethel Lockridge McCarter was Lib's young married neighbor, whose husband works for Lib's oldest son, Wayner Perky Wade, as a truck driver. Ethel sometimes come to work for Lib doing housework. Ruth Bursler called, and then Hattie talked to me. She and Jenny Harper went home with Ruth today to stay until tomorrow night. Ruth Bursler and Hattie Killian, shown here in the back, are sisters, and Jenny is their aunt. Hattie is recovering from a hysterectomy and cancer. Russell went to the church sale last night. They had a lot of things to sell and fun, too. Chickens and cakes and everything to sell. Jenny was here a while today. Afternoon, Mr. Jones, the electrician, came and inspected our hookup. It is okay. I was tired and didn't try anything yet. Looked at the book a little. Bob Jones was the longtime worker at Alliant Energy, or Iowa Electric as it was called in those days. Mr. Grove ate dinner with us. He went to Harley Carter's from here. Zona, his wife, called this evening. I used to know her. The next place that Mr. Grove went to work was for Harley or Pat Carter, shown in the back row on the right in this picture. Pat Carter and his wife Arlene are the parents of Arnold Carter from North English and his siblings. Zona Dixon Grove, the wife of A.B. Grove, and the mother of Jack and Garth Grove, was from the Hinkletown area where Lib lived when she was first married about 1900. A football game here tonight, Richland and North English. Jay Butler was at Wayne's this evening a while. Has been at Knoxville, is back at Parnell now. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to keep the History Center operating. This includes cataloging his sessions, creating displays, coordinating and preparing for monthly programs, responding to requests for family and community histories, keeping up the social media, finances, cleaning, maintenance, and providing treats for programs. There's a whole lot more activity that supports the center operations, and it is largely contributed through time and effort by the board of directors and volunteers. The History Center board is composed of Dave Jackson, president, Scott Romine, vice president, Bonnie Romine, secretary, Don Banning, treasurer, and directors Carolyn Elwood, Shelley Gerard, Alan Ackerman, and Dan Best. Please send donations to the English Valley's History Center P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa, 52316. I missed last week as I was out for a week after getting back from vacation. Butch Wilkerson, our oldest living continuous resident of the city of North English at age 88, was here to celebrate. If you miss a day, you miss a lot around here. Last week, or the time before when I had the program, Dan Best corrected me when I mispronounced the last name of Bob and Ethel Castile's oldest daughter. Her name is Maxine MacDonald. Mark Blakewell said, Jackie, great week of your program. Wouldn't it be a treat to travel back in time and experience all the simpler times? Enjoy your vacation and looking forward to the next chapter. We have a program tomorrow at the History Center. What did the cities of Creston, Maquoketa, Ottumwa, and Vinton have in common? The development of camouflage. Come and hear Roy R. Behrens, author of 4 books on the topic, discuss the history of camouflage at Iowa's Camouflage Experts on Sunday, April 26th at 2 p.m. at the History Center. All of our programs are free of charge. The donations are expected and treats are provided. The next alumni luncheon will be June 1st, 2026 at the Main Street Pub and Grub at 11:30 a.m. Please contact Alice Stramer or Linda Carter for seating. New addresses. I found these interesting tidbits this week when I was researching the North English Record newspapers. We have talked before how editor Carl Hogendorn tried to build a sense of community and therefore more subscribers to the newspaper too, by telling the news about the servicemen and sending them free newspapers overseas. Carl also encouraged former residents to stay in contact when they moved, like in this example. Robert Lowndes sends in his subscription renewal to the Record and also a new address. The Lowndes are now living at 405 East 22nd Street in Trenton, Missouri. Bob says they are enjoying their best weather of the year. And another on the bottom, Mrs. Bertha Hahn sends in her subscription renewal with the following note. I don't get to see the old hometown very often anymore, so the paper keeps me up on things. I hope this finds you all well. Servicemen. I also found out where my dad was headed in the Air Force in 1950. Privates Laverne Wilkerson and Francis Gehringer have been transferred from Lackland Field, Texas to Lowry Field, Colorado. Laverne is attending Turret System Mechanics School, while Francis is in supply. Private Marvin Gehringer is still in Lackland with the medics. You might remember that Squirt Wilkerson, Francis Gehringer, and his brother Marvin Gehringer all joined the Air Force together, hoping that they might be stationed together. My dad, Francis Gehringer, was later sent to Germany as a supply sergeant, working with food and supplies for the citizens of Berlin. Squirt, or Laverne Wilkerson, Marvin Gehringer, and J.B. Miller ended up stationed in Japan. Left to right, Corporal Laverne, or Squirt Wilkerson, PFC Marvin Gehringer, and Lieutenant Jim B. Miller. The 3 North English boys in the picture above recently got together at Yokota, Japan, for a real gab fest, most of which centered around North English. The above picture was sent to us by the trio, attached to a big wanted circular, similar to those released by the FBI. However, this one read, "Wanted to be in North English, Iowa." Rick Miller, who graduated from English Valleys in 1980, passed away this week. Our sympathy to his family. Here is a picture of Rick Miller when he graduated in 1980. John Ish almost made it to 100. If he had lived until May 28th, he would have been 100 years old. John owned Ish Feed and Supply for 20 years in South English and later worked at the University of Iowa and at Kinsey's. His 3 children are Bonnie, Keith, and Kevin. Here is a picture of John with some of his family members. John brought some wonderful peach trees and planted them in our yard in South English, where we lived neighbors to him there in the 1990s. Eldon Newberry passed away this week. Eldon was a home builder in North English for many years, and he and his wife, the former Nancy Wyant, have lived recently in Amana and then in Grinnell. Eldon was the son of Greta Ballard Newberry and Gerald Newberry. The passing of Eldon's brother in 1946 was mentioned in Lib Wade's Diaries. Eldon and Lauren were playing in the yard during a yard cleanup when there was a fire and Lauren was killed. Eldon's other siblings are Daryl, Lynette, and Carl. Eldon was active in athletics in high school and graduated in 1962. He and Nancy loved to travel and to go to Daytona to the races. My school friend Helen Kirkpatrick Schwietert from Colesburg, Iowa and Lake Placid, Florida, accompanied me on a trip to Washington, D.C. last week. It was not on our itinerary, but the bus driver made a swing around the United States Marine Corps Memorial, or the Iwo Jima statue. Depicted on the statue are the Marines raising the U.S. flag at the highest point on Iwo Jima and capturing the island, which is 760 miles south of Tokyo, in 1945, near the end of World War II. One of the Marines depicted raising the flag is Harold Keller, who was from Brooklyn in Iowa County, Iowa. There's a picture of Harold or Pye Keller. Helen's dad, Keith Kirkpatrick, pictured here with his mother and sisters, was present on Iwo Jima that day and saw when the flag was raised. Keith had already earned his Purple Heart when the flag was raised and the island was captured by the Allied forces. We also saw the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. There is a statue of 3 soldiers on the site, too. We looked for the names of 3 soldiers. I did not know any of them personally, but I have known their families and or their stories in the years since the conflict has ended. Maya Lin was the 21-year-old creator of the memorial. She chose polished black granite for the walls. Its mirror-like surface reflects the images of the surrounding trees, lawns, and monuments, and the people who are visiting the memorial.
Take care, Dave.
Yeah, John.
The memorial's walls point to the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, thus bringing the memorial into the historical context of our country. The names are inscribed in chronological order of their dates of casualty, showing the war as a series of individual human sacrifices and giving each name a special place in history. Thomas Martin Behrens from Wattier, who graduated from Tri-County High School in 1961, was killed October 31st, 1969. Harold Berkey, who attended English Valley's High School and graduated from Washington High School. Harold was a close friend of our own John Hall from the class of 1968. Harold was killed in 1971. Harold Berkey was a Navy SEAL, as was his brother Sam. Robert Jan Cobb was a member of the English Valley's High School class of 1966. Robert Cobb was the great-grandson of Lib Wade and a young child in the 1950 diaries that I read each week. Bob was killed in Vietnam on September 4th, 1968. His parents, Glenn and Hazel Cobb, donated his historical belongings and medals to the English Valley's History Center. I will have a feature story on Bob Cobb coming soon. We are also interested in learning about historical English Valley's items that you might wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. And thank you, everyone. It's been great to be back, and we'll see you again next week.
And that's a wrap. Thanks, Jackie.
Nice job, Jack.